So here we are inside Blender 4.5. This is the first time that I'll be testing Terrain Mixer inside of it, so if it doesn't work, I'll try again, but I think it will work. Anyway, in my last video where I have explained how to install and use free add-on called Terrain Mixer, I also showcased how you can bake your height maps, the height maps of your terrain mix. And someone in the comment section asked, yeah, okay, this is nice, but how can we bake color textures? And this is what I'm about to show you in this video. Now, let's first go to the preferences, and I just want to go to the file paths and add another assets library. This is not crucial for what I'm going to show you, but I just want to show you an additional technique later on, and for that I need Terrain Mixer assets. So let's go here, and I'll just write TM here so I know what I'm looking for. Of course, we have to install Terrain Mixer as well. Preferences, get extensions. I'll type Mixer here. Here it is. Install. It takes approximately 3 or 4 seconds. Here it is. We can close this, and if we press N key, we'll see the N panel, and here you have Terrain Mixer. Now the next step, just like in the previous video, is to import Terrain Mixer. So we'll do this by clicking on this first button that says Terrain Mixer Cycles Engine, and it also says it appends a new independent and perfectly copied Terrain Mixer setup. So let's do it. The next step is to import TM World Material or Terrain Mixer World Material, because if you preview it now, so we can't work this way because it is cycles based tool, so we need some light, and let's do that. And instead of CPU, I will use GPU compute, so things should work a bit faster. Let's also import the Terrain Mixer workspaces. I need this one, rendered preview, and let's mix something real fast. This might work. I just want to play with it a little bit more. Okay, I think this can work for now. Now let's go and see what we can do with the texturing. So here under the modifiers list, you will find a modifier named texture control. So let's expose it, and you can choose between the fast shade mix or complex. This complex adds a bit more detail, like grass and snow and other features. So I'll just play with the sliders a bit, just so you can see what are the options. Okay, now let's imagine that I'm happy with this. Now what I can do, I can go to the subdivision, open it, and I already have set this subdivision to 8. And if you remember the last video, we didn't have to have subdivisions at all when we baked the height maps, because it's just the way the terrain mixer works. With color texture, it is a bit different. You do have to have subdivisions because color that is generated procedurally depends on it. So it is good that we have set it to 8. Now we're gonna go back to the terrain mixer menu and we're gonna click this enter baking mode. Before I do that, I will press 0 just so we can preview through the camera, and when we enter the baking mode, we'll get this sort of a preview, which means that when we render it, this is what we'll get. So let's do it. We also have set the resolution here. This will work for now. So all we have to do now is press bake. Wait a minute. That's not how we do it. We first have to go here to the view layer properties, passes, and enable the pass that we need. In this case, we need color. And now we can press bake. I will even lower this down to maybe 10 for now. We'll see if we'll get enough details. Now you can press bake. So here's the final bake. Let's go here under the diffuse color. We can see our color texture. It's pretty detailed. It has some artifacts, but it will be good enough for the purpose of this presentation. So let's save this. To be able to use this texture outside of this scene, we'll also bake a height map. And this is really easy to do. Let's just go here to the terrain mixer nodes workspace, and all you have to do is select this height output. Same thing, let's go to the terrain mixer workspace. We have preview of our height map. We don't need any subdivision levels, so let's just disable it and hit bake. Denoising is optional, of course. I just forgot to turn it off. So let's save this one as well. We'll save it as EXR, not PNG. So go here, choose Open EXR, and leave it as it is. Now I'll pause this video to set up a simple terrain, and then we'll continue with the presentation. So here we are in a new scene. We can delete all this. We can create a new terrain. So let's just add a plane. Let's scale it up 1000 times. Control A to apply scale. Now, if you start zooming out, you will see this clipping happening, and that's just the default setup for Blender viewport. But luckily here inside the terrain mixer panel, you can just click this fix clipping distance. There you go. We can also import world material. Here it is. And of course, let's also change the engine from Eevee to Cycles. Although you can continue working in Eevee from this point on. So let's go to the modifiers, add subdivision surface modifier, choose simple, and also add displacement modifier. This. Now we need a texture, but before we add texture, we have to subdivide this plane because we only have this 6 subdivisions here by default. Of course, we can type in more, but I like to subdivide in the edit mode first. So subdivide, 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 and subdivide. Now let's add new texture. Go here and let's open the height bake. Here it is. Let's go back here. So we have to increase this a few hundred times because if you remember, we scaled up this plane a few hundred times, 1000 I think. So let's do that now. And you see that we have something going on. Of course, this is not what we want, but we need to change the coordinates to UV. And here is our terrain. I will also adjust mapping a bit. So if I scroll here, and I'll select clip, Now we can also go here and select UV map, although that's not important for this, and also choose Z displacement on Z axis. Then what we can do, we can subdivide a bit just to see our terrain better. Just to see our terrain better before we import the color texture, which we will do now. So let's go here, shader editor, new material, Shift A, and let's add image texture, Control T. Oh, we don't have Node Wrangler enabled, so we'll fix that now. Is it still called Node Wrangler? Node Wrangler, okay. Control T, so we have proper mapping. And if we plug it here, we'll probably get something pinkish. That's what I thought. So now we have to find the color texture, and it's here, this one. So here's your textured terrain. I think it looks nice already. Let's add a few more subdivisions. So now some details are really popping out. We can also set a few cameras. For this, I will use This2That Suite and Camera View Pro. So we can place one here, adjust it a bit. We can place one here. And maybe an aerial view from somewhere around here. Let's see what we got so far. Let's adjust this one a bit more. I think I'll also change some camera settings by using this preset to camera. The active camera is 0.001. So let's select it and do this. Let's render it. We have to add a few more subdivision levels. Okay, let's save it, just so we have something rendered out. So yeah, this is how you would do it. Now, of course, this is a very simple material, and we can do a lot more with it. We can add roughness and so on. So I'll just play a bit in front of you so you can see what we can do with a few more adjustments. Okay, yes, I'm aware of the fact that this visual is not good even for Roblox or maybe Minecraft game, but since I didn't plan anything, I think it's good enough for this presentation. Now let's save this one as well. Now I'll stop using this technique. Of course, you could push this one a lot further, but there is an easier and more advanced way when it comes to texturing your terrain. Let's go here under the asset browser and under terrain mixer assets, shaders and materials, and we'll play a bit with this one called mask mixer. Now I have to warn you that this doesn't come with the free Blender terrain mixer add-on. This is the part of the terrain mixer package available on multiple online stores. If you think you need it, go and get it there. And of course, by doing so, you're actually supporting the development of terrain mixer for those who are paying supporters and for those who are using it for free. Now let's go here and let me just close this by clicking T key, and I'll drag another window here. Again, open shader editor. We can leave this material that we have for this object, and I'll also pin it. So this will work with any material setup that you might already have, or you can create a new one, doesn't matter. I'll also hide most of these objects, all the clouds, and I don't need this either. But I will leave these planes because they are sharing the same material, just so you can see what is going on. This is also a nice shot. Let me just save this by going here and create a new camera from view. Here it is. Yep, it's a nice one. Let's go back. Now, as I said, we're gonna drag this over here. So let's go and take this mask mixer and drag it here. So this is just a node group. By selecting and pressing tab, you can go inside and see what we have so far, or we can go out of it, select it, and then select ungroup, and we'll end up with these nodes. You can cut this because I will show you what it does anyway. I can also hide the assets. First things first, and you know it's first because it has number 1. Here we have something that is called mask master, and this is where we adapt and use output to be able to mix them to get even more complex masks. Now you have the area mask here, direction mask, gradient mask, ambient occlusion mask, peaks mask, and flow mask. Also, you have something called natural mask. This will eat up a lot of your resources, but trust me, you will be happy when you see the results. So let's just preview a few of them, or all of them. So area mask. Basically, you defined area by height. You can adjust Z position. You can change its thickness. You can add some border noise to it. These are border noise details. You can also blur upper border, and you can also blur lower border. You can add dispersion effect to the upper and lower border. Same thing here. And you can also invert it. Now, most of these masks have similar settings or similar parameters, so let's just go fast over them as well. So here you see me moving the gradient mask controller. A few of these masks have their controllers that you can use to adjust position, rotation, and other parameters. Area mask also had one. So here it is. This is peaks mask. After that we have flow mask. And last, that's the natural mask. You have it like this, or you have it in color. Let's first see what we can do with all these details. You have different types. You can scale it. You can scale it in multiple directions. So for example, if I scale it in Z direction, you see what you get. Now check the amount of details you get with this mask. Another cool feature is dispersion. But I must warn you, this mask is really heavy for the system. So if you have a good machine, then you don't have to worry about it. As I already mentioned, you can use an empty. It is called natural mask controller, and you can also use it to adjust the look of the mask. So the point of using mask is to get complex textures which will look more believable, or at least a lot more interesting for the viewer. Here we can blend masks. So for example, I can take the flow mask, this is what I have so far, and I can combine it with the natural mask. I can preview it in different blending modes. And if I like what I have here, I can plug it in this previewer, so it's kind of stored for later. I can do the same, for example, with this area mask. Now I can preview my saved masks. I can duplicate this as well and maybe do another combination. For example, AO mask and maybe gradient mask, like so. Now you also have this mask to RGB. So let's say now we have these three masks. I can plug the first one in the A socket, mask A socket, or plug the second one in, no, actually, sorry, this one. Then I can plug the second one in B socket, and I can, for example, plug this area mask in C socket. And now, if I preview it, I can see them in the RGB. Here it is. Now let's just render this. I think that if you have ever textured anything, you already know how powerful this is, because each of these colors represent a different mask that you can use for masking the terrain with different textures. And imagine if you would have textures for pebbles, for rock, for, I don't know, dirt, sand, whatever, you can control it with these masks. So, of course, you can achieve a lot more complex mask combinations. I will do another video where I will texture the terrain with this mask system sometimes soon, so hopefully you'll be watching that video as well. Now, this technique is not limited just to be used with the already baked height maps or with the 3D models of terrains. You can use it inside of Terrain Mixer as well. So let me show you. So here we are back inside of Terrain Mixer. Let's enable the preview here. It is the same terrain that we have baked earlier. We baked the height map and the color texture. Now let's drag and drop that same mask mixer that we have used in the previous file. So here it is. It is already messy here, but I just wanted to show you that if you want to, you could do the texturing part already inside the terrain mixer scene. So here it is. And all I have to do is just drag it to here. Here you go. It's all here. So in theory, you could go here and you don't need the texture control anymore. And you could literally delete, if you want, you could literally delete all of these nodes here that are used for texturing and that are partially controlled by this texture control modifier, because now you have this one, mask mixer, so we can go inside. You can output anything you want from here. So for example, now the last thing, if you want to use these color masks, you can do that as well. This is very convenient because you don't have to preview one mask at a time. You can have it like this, but in that case what you would do is you would go here and separate a color node, use that one and plug this here and use those masks like so. Also, you probably already guessed it, you can go here and basically just bake out the mask to an image. So terrain mixer and bake. Here it is. your final mask, at least one of them, and as before, you can save it. We can use PNG or even JPEG if you want, and save. That's all for now. Join me in the next video. I'll probably do another one for the texturing, or I'll leave that for later and show you some other tools that you probably missed. Cheers!